I think most people are lost in love because they don't understand who the fuck they are.
How I went from 0 clients to 7 figures without ever cold calling.
Whatever has the most engagement, most views, most retention, we throw ads on that because he's going to keep growing.
Giuliano Gonzalez built one of the fastest growing PR agencies in Dubai by mastering the art of reputation, branding, and knowing exactly who to talk to.
I go up to people and I show them how I network in a live setting, and it's gone pretty viral.
What is a personal brand?
Staying true to yourself at all costs.
Talk to me about networking then. What's your unique...
What's the trick? What do you know that I don't know? It's about like putting yourself in a position where people come to you, you don't go to them, and that's by adding value.
All social media is a method of amplifying that personal brand.
Yeah. The social media has changed my life. I would not be here. I still have a job.
Do you think it differs whether you're a large business, a small business, a solo entrepreneur?
Everyone needs to be on social media.
Everything you've done lately has been organic.
Yes.
Do you really think it's possible to be solely organic? Or
No. I think organic at the very beginning is great to build a good foundation. But going on to paid, it also makes sense. That's the only way to really scale, going on to paid traffic.
I look at so much of my content and think, well, that's no different to that. Or that's actually better than that.
Do you know how Mr. Beast talks about spending a lot of money on the videos? Advertising. He's one of the top spenders on YouTube advertising.
okay.
This episode will change how you think about building influence forever.
Guys, Matt Haycox here, and welcome to another episode of No Bollocks with me, Matt Haycox. I've still got my Everest cracked lips, so you're going to have to excuse my my strange voice today. But I've got in the house with me entrepreneur, podcaster, digital marketing expert, and a guy who says he's also one of the world's greatest networkers, which I'm looking forward to putting him to the test because I like to think of myself as one of the world's greatest networkers too. Giuliano Gonzalez, welcome to the show, buddy, and welcome to Dubai.
Thank you so much. I've been looking forward to it, man.
So look, plenty of things we can talk about.
Of course,
just set the scene a bit for those guys who don't know you. You were an entrepreneur originally. I guess you're an entrepreneur now, but correct. You were entrepreneur founder before you moved into the digital marketing and PR space. Just tell us how it happened.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. So for the last 4 years, I've been running a digital PR firm / reputation management company. And now I show other people how to do exactly that, start and scale it. Also, I do a lot of videos on social media, which is how we sort of met around networking, how to network like a pro. And I go up to people and I show them how I network in a live setting. And it's gone pretty viral. And yeah, that's how I ended up here. And that's essentially what I do full time, which is really cool.
And you're from Australia?
Yep, unfortunately. Nah, I'm kidding. I love Australia. Australia's good. Yeah.
How's the entrepreneurial cultural differences between Oz and here?
Australia, it's mainly like a country made for people that have normal jobs. So it's not tailored to people that have businesses. Also, Australia is a place where the tall puppy syndrome is a real thing. So if you drive a Lamborghini, a Ferrari, whatever car that it is, or even if you have a nice Rolex, people will get jealous. They will look down on you. They'll be like, oh, he's probably doing drugs or something. So it's not a place where you're like encouraged to grow as a human being and encouraged to be successful. They want to keep you small in Australia. And I felt that throughout the years. I moved to Australia when I was 13, turning 14. And when I hit 26 and I started this whole digital thing, I'm like, I can't be here. So I traveled all over the world, Brazil, Colombia, typical places that you go when you first start making money online. And then recently I ended up in Dubai, which it has been the best place in my opinion. You would know because you've been living here for 4 years. And the atmosphere, the people here is just amazing.
I mean, have you seen your business change, or what differences have you seen in the last 12 months?
Tremendous growth in terms of the reach, the connections, the opportunities. When you've got cash and you've got the right connections and the right opportunities, it's really easy to multiply it, right? But a lot of these opportunities otherwise would not be presented to you unless you have people that have information that you can access in the general market.
So, digital PR, and you mentioned reputation management. I guess let's start with personal branding.
Yes.
What is a personal brand?
It's your truth, and I believe in today's age, you either have to go super positive or super negative to blow up. Right? We see Simon, the guy that goes up to people and says, "Hey, do you have a dream?" That's extremely positive. Right? You've got Andrew Tate. Oh, I hate women. No, not I hate women, but he goes very extreme around things. That's why they blow up. So I think a personal brand is staying true to yourself at all costs.
You think you think Tate's negative, or you just mean
he's controversial,
polarizing,
controversial. Yeah, correct. Yeah, he's controversial, polarizing, but he's not negative. Yeah.
I mean, is Is it possible to build a brand if you're not polarizing?
I mean, you can be polarizing in a positive way too. So yeah, I mean, it depends. I think it has to be extreme either way. You should either be polarizing on the positive or polarizing on the negative. That's what I've seen.
I mean, let's take someone like Daniel Priestley. You know, Daniel Priestley as an example. I mean, obviously he's positive.
Yes.
I mean, I don't see him. I might be wrong. I don't see him as polarizing.
But he's a little bit controversial with some.
You think? Yeah. Because I was going to say because he's built a very loyal following. He doesn't seem to be a guy who has any haters. He's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But he's not someone I would consider controversial. But
but he also he got into Steve Barclay's podcast at the right time, right? Obviously, it's not public information, but a lot of the guys that get there, they do pay to play. And that is the way that it is in business, right? If you don't pay to play, then good luck getting into the big opportunities, especially if you don't have a huge following, right? So being in a medium like that with such a big exposure and you have a unique angle, it helps you tremendously. And he has a unique thing, right? He's got a background in business. And also, I believe, based on my knowledge, is that he's a big, advocate on having a waiting list or something like this before launching. And that's unique. Like, that's a unique angle. I've heard other people say, but he's very he goes down path with that.
It's interesting what you say about the paying to go on Stephen Bartlett's podcast, or paying for podcasts and stuff in general. And I guess as someone in the digital PR space, I mean, you'll know this better than most, but I always, I find there's a real ego thing from people that they want to be, for example, on a podcast, or they want to have a guest on a podcast. But so, well, I'll never pay to be there, or I'll never pay for that person. And if it was Saturday night on the TV and an 8 o'clock advert, no one would hesitate to think, well, I should have to pay to be in that situation.
That's correct. Yeah.
But when it comes to podcasts, when it comes to PR and lots of other bits of media, there seems to be this, like I said, ego mental blocker that people don't and won't pay. And I always remember a clip from, I think it was a Rob Moore podcast, when he was having a debate with someone. I had Rob on the podcast. I've had him on 2 or 3 times. Last time he was in town, I was actually saying to him, "Do you remember when you said this?" And he didn't deny saying it. He said, "I kind of can't remember," but he agreed with me anyway. He made a comment that said, "If you were offered Andrew Tate for your podcast, and you had to pay $100,000 and you didn't immediately say yes, then you're not taking podcasting seriously enough."
Yeah.
And I mean, okay, I guess it's a sensationalized comment, but for me, it's very true in that, if you've got a podcast that's either, not very big or growing, but you want some of the world's most influential people who are going to change your life, change your business, why the fuck do you possibly expect them to do it for free when you've got no value exchange?
2 things. I think first and foremost is because people are operating from a state of where they are today, not for where they want to be in the future. So in order for you to become that person in the future, you need to take the action and decision making that person would take. So that person would most likely pay the $100,000 to get Tate, because he will drive the traffic and get your podcast known, right? You only know what you know. And if you don't have the right people around you also guiding you and giving you advice around these certain things, then of course you're going to be closed off to the opportunity. But people are really happy to spend $100,000 a month on Facebook ads, but not spend, let's say, a budget of $20,000 a month on getting onto different podcasts that will give you credibility, leverage, and trust. It's silly.
And why is it? Just because they don't understand the medium? Just because they don't know the potential outcomes?
It could be 2 things. It could be they don't understand the medium, but also they could be that they're fucking stupid and they have a big ego, right? Big ego is a big problem, right? I'm too big, or I have too much of a story. Okay, well, where are your views? Where's your traffic? Do you know what I mean? Like before, I didn't I had done 32 million views in the last 90 days, right? Which is okay, it's not huge. But if I hadn't had that, I would not be relevant here. Like, I don't deserve to sit here. You feel me? So if you don't have grip, if you don't have traction, if you don't have a following, then don't expect a seat at the table completely for free. You get to pay to play, period.
Do you find, so one thing I've found since being in Dubai, and I guess you're already from this space anyway, when it comes to the media, most of the media here in Dubai is pay to play. Traditional PR seems to kind of not really exist here. I mean, you go and pitch any story to a newspaper, and okay, fine, they probably still have to like it because they're not going to take any old shit. But even if they do like it, everything you have to pay for now.
Yeah, yeah. It's the way that it used to be back in the day. So a lot of the revenue that used to come from all these media companies used to come from this little kiosk where people would sell the newspapers, the Forbes magazine, the magazine. That's a chunk of revenue that was lost overnight, pretty much, for those companies. So now they need distributors to allocate the spots, which is called advertorials, right? Some of them disguise as organic press, and that's how sort of they're making revenue.
But how is someone who's looking to get press, do you pay to play while still maintaining credibility, if that's the right way to put it? Because, you know, and I mean, maybe the answer is just simply that not everybody knows, so you can get away with it.
Yes.
But, you know, normally when something's plastered, you know, sponsored, advertorial, or whatever, you know, people know that they have paid for that. And if they've paid for it, then it probably doesn't come with editorial independence.
Correct. So there's two type of people, right? There's the B2C market, business to consumer. They would not be able to fully comprehend the language that we're speaking about. B2B, I agree, it needs to be organic, right? But in order for you to have organic, you need to have a mixture of press first, right? So you can still get press articles that are completely organic, but you still have to pay, you know, behind closed doors. So in order to get picked up by Forbes and these big news outlets, you actually need to have a good story. And you need to have a bit of traction behind you and credibility.
Let me hit you with a mad stat. You are probably not subscribed. Seriously, 58% of the people who listen to this podcast every single week do not hit that subscribe button. That is more than half of you. So let's fix this right now. The goal here is super simple. We grow the podcast, we bring in bigger guests, and we give you even more no bullshit, actionable insights to level up your business and to level up your life. Now, in business, you set smart goals. That's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Well, here's one for you. Let's get that 58% down to well below 50% in the next 3 months. So please do me a quick favor. If this podcast has ever given you one good idea, one piece of advice that's helped you or helped your business, then hit that subscribe button. It takes a second, it costs nothing, and it means that I can keep bringing you even bigger and better guests, giving you even bigger and better insights. Go on, do it now. I'll wait. Done? Perfect. Great choice. Let's grow this together.
So, I mean, I know there's two parts to your business. One is teaching other people to build digital marketing, digital PR agencies, and the other side is you have the agency yourself.
Yes.
Let's let's put this in terms of a client. Client comes to you. They haven't, you know, they've got a reasonably successful business, but nobody knows who they are.
Yes.
How do we work with this person? How do we blow them up?
The first thing I'd say is I'll look at all the social media accounts and look at what are they posting right now? How credible are they? Are they getting any views? I would focus on that first. The second part is we get them on the press. And the third part, we get them on podcasts just like this. These are tools that they can utilize for the next year for credibility so they can grow. A lot of them and a lot of people that I work with run a lot of paid traffic, right? You and I know this. The consumer and the buyer from today is extremely skeptical. So if you just run ads to cold traffic and you have nothing to show, then your conversion rate will suck and your cost per acquisition will increase substantially. But if you compare it to having those, you know, trusted sources, it would change everything for you.
So, I mean, you mentioned the first thing you look at is their socials. So I guess for anyone listening to this who maybe feels that they don't have budget yet to you know, to put into digital PR, to put into digital marketing, I'm assuming then from a social perspective, this is stuff people can do for free, cheaply, organically.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to understand who you're speaking to and understand the top of funnel strategy, the middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel, right? Top of funnel is simple, is to acquire new eyeballs that haven't seen you before, new followers. Middle, education, bottom, conversion.
And using social media, do you hit all three funnels?
Yes.
So all three parts of the funnel?
Yep.
It's not just top of funnel.
I could show you afterwards how I've got everything structured. It's a literally step-by-step thing that I use now. At the very beginning, I blew up by accident. I'm not going to lie. I uploaded a video. That was the very first video I uploaded. I got like 650,000 views in 24 hours. And I'm like, holy shit, I'm onto something now. You know, the second one, 1 million. And then I'm like, okay, there's a pattern here, right? And I started seeing the pattern and then I figured it out. I'm like, all right, top.
That's purely organic?
Purely organic,
Really?
Yeah. The biggest one that I've got is 8.3 million. That I did it here at some polo event.
What was the theme? What was the context? And why do you think if you reverse engineer it, it blows up so much?
I I'm in a network you probably have heard of, Tutorial Shooter.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm on that network with my friend Adam and whatever, and we're out at this polo event, and I grab my glasses and I'm like, I'm gonna go up to you guys and just talk to you. They're like, yeah, whatever. Nothing scripted. I go up to them, blah blah blah, and the video is like how to network with the 1% at a polo event. Shoot off overnight to 8.3. Now, to answer your question was, how do I spot the pattern? It's based on the hook. So the whole goal of top of funnel in general on Instagram is to retain people on the platform as much as possible. Why is that? Because Instagram makes money retaining people on the platform and serving them ads. So if you're able to have a high retention rate, they will reward you with exposure. Okay? So that's what we have to be thinking. I always look at, I need at least a 35% retention rate, at least, minimum. 50%, I know I'll go viral.
So 35% retention rate for people listening. That means people are watching on average 35% of the length of the video.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Yes. Ideally 50. When it hits 50, I know this will go viral straight away.
Is it easier, therefore, to do it if you have shorter videos?
Yes and no. Because it depends also, that's one component, right? It's that the next one is the comments, the shares, and the saves. So the first one that we have to meet is the retention rate, then is the comments, then is the shares, and then is the saves. So if we meet all of those four, game over.
What's your view on, when I say, let's say paid engagement, I'm not talking about like buying followers, but you know, I know a lot of people.
Shout outs.
Shout outs, and also, you know, when you can, I guess, pay to get comments dropped on, you know, when a video's launched. So I guess it gives it that early stage impetus, early stage. I mean, does that work, or is it just totally fake?
I think Instagram can pick that up and they will blacklist you. That's the problem. I used to do that when I got started. I did a shout out campaign and I got to 50,000 followers or whatever. But all the recent growth, I've grown like 150,000 followers in like 2 months. Do you know? And that's all organic.
Really?
And to see that growth naturally without, you know, having to push things has changed my perspective on how important it is to focus on having good quality content, not just good quality, but unique and authentic. Beast talks about this all the time. The only way for you to really blow up and go mass market is to have a really unique angle. You know, I saw the guys in Miami doing the pickup videos, going up to girls, and I'm like, all right, that's a good, interesting concept. I'm going to do the same with networking. Put my glasses, and then I thought business. And that's why sort of it took off, because no one was owning that space.
Most business advice, it's motivational fluff. It's empty promises and it's untested ideas by people who have never even tried to apply them. It's bollocks, but you're not going to get that here. And that is why I call it No Bollocks. The No Bollocks newsletter is straight talking, high impact, zero time wasting, tried, tested, and immediately actionable. 2 emails a week, insider strategies, brutally honest insights, and the answers to the questions that you're asking, or you should be asking. And the best part, you're going to learn more in 10 minutes than most people learn in a 3-year MBA. Over 20,000 people a week are already in. So don't be the one that's missing out. Hit the link in the show notes, because you just need one email that could be the one that changes everything.
So talk to me about networking and what's your unique...
What's the trick?
Yeah,
what do you know that I don't know? No. Obviously, you've got more years in this life than I do, I suppose. How old are you now?
I'm very young. I don't know what you're talking about.
How old are you now?
I'm 44.
Mate, you've got years ahead of me. I'm 29, right? So obviously there is life experience that you have over me, which I acknowledge, and I'm here to also learn from you too, right? But I think
we'll compare notes.
Yeah,
You go first.
But to me, it's about like putting yourself in a position where people come to you, you don't go to them, and that's by adding value, right? So that's why I started the networking events, because people were coming constantly to me. People were coming, they would see me on social media. I didn't know who they were following me. And as a consequence, they wanted to be around me. So for example, with the high-level guys, struggle hanging out amongst themselves most of the time because they also have a big ego. So a lot of them don't want to network because they feel like they don't have to, and they have a close little circle. But if you're able to breach the gap and do a high-quality dinner once a month with all of them together and build a network and get them all together and be a connector, then you suddenly become super valuable to all of them, because that's one thing that they're missing in their life.
Yeah, I mean, one of my I guess, key things of how I network is that controlling of the events of building it before. And it's interesting because somebody called me a few days ago. He sent me a link to a networking boat party type thing.
Right.
And he said, he's a real estate agent, and he was looking to go to this event to meet high net worths. And it was like, I don't know, $300 or $400 to attend this party or this boat party. And he said to me, what do you think? Do you think it's going to be worthwhile for me? I said, listen, look, to be clear, I know nothing about the event. I've never been before. I'm only talking, generically and hypothetically. But I always find that these kind of situations, you think, just because I pay, it'll only be good quality people there. Whereas the reality is, it's probably lots of people paying to try and meet people who aren't there in the first place anyway. And what you'll find is you're on a boat with 50 other real estate agents who've paid $200 or $300 to go and meet high net worths, and the high net worths aren't there. And okay,
I agree.
Maybe there's some benefit to a B2B partnerships, but you're not going to meet the end users. And any of my networking, whether it's been one-on-one or with 100 people, it's always started from a position of me very specifically identifying the targets that I want to network with, inviting them to a situation that I've put on because then I can control it, but also, as you say, adding value in some way, shape or form. Because look at this the other way around. We always get the LinkedIn DMs. Hey Matt, great to connect. Can we meet for a mutually beneficial coffee?
I think that's honestly, can I make a comment on that?
Sure.
I think that's so fucking low status. It pisses me off. It shows how much of low EQ you have. Like a busy guy that's more successful than you. Like it just makes no sense. Stop sending these fucking messages. Like, can we go for fucking coffee? No. Like why do you want to go for coffee, bro? Like why? Like why would I take time out of my day? I don't know you. And your profile has 2 followers. And I'm sorry, but we live in a digital world. Your digital presence is your curriculum. So it shows me that you're not serious about it. It shows me that you actually, you know what? You don't want to connect. You just want to ask questions. Yeah,
you want to pick my brains for your benefit. And the thing is, so using that as your baseline, when I go to network with people, they obviously have something I want, and therefore I have to find a way for me to offer something to them that they want. Otherwise, this is no different to me asking them for a coffee. And and again, you think, oh well, let me take you to this restaurant, let me take you to this football, let me do. When I always talk about networking in the context of high net worth because that's the kind of people that I'm looking to meet. But when you're trying to meet and network with wealthy people, you're dealing with people who can do anything that they want to do anyway. You say, oh, I've got tickets to the football. Look, if they want to go to the football, if they want to go to the tennis, they can do it anyway. And they don't want to go with me. They want to go with their friends or their kids or their whatever it may be. So, I always... First of all, identify the target. Second, find out what their interests are. And then thirdly, create a circumstance where I can get them to come to something in a way that it's a kind of a money can't buy experience, if that's what you want to call it. Because if it's a money can buy experience, they'll spend their money and they won't want to do it with me.
That's right. I would rather have an application process where everybody gets vetted and then they get interviewed to be part of a network, a private network. I think that's much more powerful than actually paying on the front end, in my opinion.
I think, and the other, I guess strategy, if you want to call it that, with me is, I use my networking as top of funnel, if you want to call it that.
Of course.
My middle of funnel is relationship building. In that sometimes you'll meet someone and there's an immediate transaction to be done. Sometimes it does happen, but if you want to get the real value, for me it's got to be genuine, organic, long term. So my middle of funnel is taking those people and giving, building long term relationships. And people say, well, how long do you build a relationship for? As long as it fucking takes.
That's right.
Maybe forever, for never. But, some of those people at some point will convert. And, what I always say is the people that don't convert into a sale, my worst case scenario is I've had interesting people in my network, because these are obviously going to be interesting people that I'm going to absorb some, even if I don't make money, make direct money from. I'm going to absorb knowledge. I'm going to absorb something. But then again, just having these people around will introduce me to more people, to more people, to more people. But the biggest mistake people make when it comes to networking for me is going in and going in for the kill on day one.
It's horrible.
Trying to do a transaction there and then.
That is the biggest mistake anyone can make. I built a relationship, for example, with Jules Sullivan for a year before he came on my thing and spoke publicly, before we all started hanging out. Like it takes time, especially with high level guys. You don't ask. I allow them to ask you. I'll ask me. When they need something, they can ask, because they will be ready, because you've exchanged so much value already that naturally they'll feel obligated to give something back. It's just the way that it works. That's just my take on it.
No, absolutely. And I always say as well, I think the networking has to be planned out, strategic, thoughtful. So I say there's two kinds of networking for me. One is the very focused, and one is the slightly more generic.
Yes.
But when it's generic, and I, let's say, don't know exactly how I'm going to meet, it's still very focused on the type of people I want to meet. So again, I want to meet high net worth people.
That's right.
So I might, for example, take a table at a very expensive charity event. I might take it. You mentioned polo. I play polo, so
nice.
I'll be in that circle.
Yes.
And the people there will be wealthy. Now I don't know exactly who I'm going to meet, but I know that I know that they're going to be people of substance, of money, that is therefore probably going to be able to convert them to slightly more focused networking down the line. But what I'm never going to do is go to a random business breakfast, a random business lunch, where and again, listen, I'm not trying to slag these off for certain people. It depends what your business is.
They're good for beginners.
Listen, if you're a beginner, if you're an accountant, if you're if you make cheap websites or something like that, these kind of things probably work, because you're kind of all beginners together. You're all a lot more transactional.
Yes.
You all want to trade services. But the higher up the chain you go, the more focused it needs to be.
You're obviously, are you married? Do you have kids or anything like this?
Well, divorced, separated, kids, yes.
You've gone through a lot of life experience, for example, right? And you've seen the change on social media, I believe, as well.
Yep.
From what it used to be.
Listen, I was in business, sorry to interrupt you, I was in business before social media ever existed.
That's right.
And my first, and I have to say, I don't like to talk in regrets, because I have no regrets, but my first business was strip clubs.
Right.
I started when I was 23, 24, and by 27, 28, I was the biggest operator of strip clubs in the UK.
Wow.
But I did it before two things: before social media and before crowdfunding. Neither of those things existed. I always say, if I could have that time again and do it with social media and with crowdfunding, I'd honestly believe I could have blown the absolute fuck out of that. But I mean, you imagine being a 25-year-old strip club owner with social media, the kind of content and brand that could have been created.
That's why I'm circling back around. Like, how important is it for you now if you're able to tell, the older generation around, like, social media, like I'm talking 60s, 70s, not 40s. Like, how could you convince them to get their companies on social media?
Well, I think what I always say to people, taking a step back, people say, "Well, I don't need this social media thing. I don't do social media. I don't need a personal brand." And what people seem to forget is, or not understand, you already have a personal brand.
Yes.
So taking for you have a personal brand, that is, what people think of you when they think of you, or what people think of you when you walk into the room. So first question is it the type of brand that you actually want people to think of? Mm-hmm. If it is, great. If it isn't, you need to change it. So first of all, how do you've got to get the personal brand. Secondly, how do you then amplify it? And all social media is, to me, is a method of amplifying that personal brand.
Yeah.
And all these people who've got a business, they advertise and market it in some way, shape, or form. So why would they not be doing that with the brand? Yeah. And that's probably not the clearest explanation I could have given. But ultimately, you already have a brand. Is it the right one? Okay, yes, it's the right one. Then blow the fuck out of it.
That's it. I agree. And even like now, people want to know about your values. They want to know what you stand for as a person. Sometimes they might not even transact because of that, and maybe that is the right thing to do, because you want to be transacting with people that have similar values as well, right? So social media has changed my life. honestly, all the money that I made, it's all because of social media. I would not be here. I still have a job.
But there's all the people who say that their brand doesn't belong on social media or they shouldn't be on social media. These people still all have a social media account.
That's right.
Even if it's a secret account with no profile picture, they're still using social media to look at other people.
But more
so they understand it.
Like Matt, think about this. Let's say you own a mining company, right? My grandpa is in the mining business. You could definitely make mining cool. You could show things to everyday people, and then make your employees want to be in mining, want to stay longer in the company because it's such a cool concept, So these business owners are forgetting that it's also not just about consumers or B2B, it's also about your employees for them to want to stay in your company, right? Because if you're able to create a nice culture, it helps.
Well, not just for them to want to be in the want to stay in the company, to actually attract staff as well. In a world where recruitment is probably the single most difficult thing that any business owner will do. To recruit and retain staff is.
Why do you think that is though? Because it wasn't like that a few years ago. Social media.
Well, you're asking me. You're telling me.
Yeah, I'm asking you. What do you think? The retention is so difficult nowadays.
I think. I mean, I don't particularly think it's a social media issue. I think it's because there's a lot more options out there. I mean, there's certainly more options for people. There is also, I think people, because of the options, people are a lot more flighty. I think whether it's for a job or for a relationship, I think the two things work. Why do more people cheat now?
Yeah,
well, they cheat not more because they've got more opportunity to cheat because there's Tinders and Hinges and and Bumbles and everything out there that wasn't there before. I think maybe I assume that so many of these people who are unhappy in their jobs now were also unhappy in their jobs 20 years ago or 30 years ago. They just didn't have the options. So I think. For me, that's a reason why people are so choppy, changey, flighty. But in terms of a retention tool, that personal brand, that social media, that deep culture. I mean, we see it with the big guys. Like the Grant Cardones, the Andy Elliots. I mean, Andy's been in town over the last few months here in Dubai. And, I've spent a bit of time with him and his wife, and also their staff. And you can look at it, and some of what happens with them to me is a bit culty.
Yeah.
Very culty. Very
culty.
But from an employer's retention tool, I mean, fuck me. I mean,
high.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
You know what I mean? Good. Because they believe the same values, and they believe in the fitness and making money all the time and all that sort of stuff, and that's key. That's absolutely key, in my opinion.
I mean, do you think it differs whether you're a large business, a small business, a solo entrepreneur, or is it the same kind of logic, the same kind of tactics?
Everyone needs to be on social media, and in terms of the rotation, I think those values are key. They are key. I think most people are lost in life because they don't understand who the fuck they are. Most people haven't taken the time to say, you know what? There's some things in my life that haven't gone the way that I wanted to. Why don't I go and speak to a specialist to understand what's wrong? Because when you get sick, you go to the hospital, right? But whenever you don't understand your brain, suddenly you're an expert. Why? Speak to a specialist. It's okay. No one's going to call you crazy.
Tell me, you talk about that, you don't do shout outs and everything that you've done.
Not now.
Yes. Everything you've done lately has been organic.
Yes.
But, I was reading, actually, while I was up Everest, I was reading the Brendan Kane book. 1 million followers, I think it's called. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I've seen that book around, yeah.
And there was a comment in there, a quote that said something like, efficient paid is the new organic. I mean, given that every single day there's more and more people on social media, there's more and more people creating content, and what you do is getting more and more diluted in an enormous sea. Yeah. Do you really think it's possible to be solely organic? Or
No. We're gonna go into paid soon. I think organic at the very beginning is great to build a good foundation. But going on to paid, it also makes sense. That's the only way to really scale, going on to paid traffic.
And what is the strategy? It's creating content organically that using that as a testing ground, see what people like, and then picking the good ones and doubling down.
Whatever has the most engagement, most views, most retention, we throw ads on that because it's going to keep growing. It's only going to keep growing.
It's funny because, you know, like, listen, I obviously have to do this with my own content, and I, before I've truly understood it, made, I guess, what is a mistake, but I think it's kind of like an obvious mistake for us beginners is that when you see the non-performing stuff, that's where you want to put your money, because you think, well, fuck, you know, I like that content. I don't know why nobody else has seen it. Mm-hmm. I need to put some money behind it to make it grow and level off with all the other stuff. But you know, I forget who it is. You know, quite a few of the big guys who I've tried to learn learn content and social media from. Basically, just say, don't be afraid to chuck it in the bin. You know, you've made the content.
No emotions.
It's not worked. Fuck it. Move on to the next.
That's it. There's no emotions. It's all data. It's business, right? So if a piece of content is performing, I've got a reel that gained me 56,000 followers. One reel. Wow. I'm like, that is my top of funnel follower ad now. So I just run it to whatever country I want to gain followers there. I just literally just run it. I don't change anything. I just sponsor.
It's funny though, because, you know, obviously as we're the people that create the content, you know, sometimes I look at so much of my content and think, well, that's no different to that, or you know, like, or that's actually better than that. But for whatever reason, you know, it doesn't perform. And then you try and convince yourself and you say, well, you know, it must just be a bad algorithm on a bad day because that's actually a better piece of content. But
do you know how Mr. Beast talks about spending a lot of money on the videos?
Yes.
Like, what do you think a lot of that money goes to?
What, testing?
And advertising. He's one of the top spenders on YouTube advertising.
Oh, okay.
So even himself, he doesn't speak about it publicly. He spends money on ads, you know? So at scale, if you really want to go crazy, ads, you know? Even now, like there's a new thing coming out, like clippers. Have you seen that? The clippers? People that can clip all your content on WAP. You're able to put like a certain budget, let's say $3,000, $5,000, and you get clippers from all over the world clipping all your clips, and you pay per view.
No,
it's really interesting. I'll show you after.
Okay.
It's really, really cool. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So for you know, for people who have been interested in listening to you now, for people who want to work with you, what is the current business model? How do people find you? How do they work with you?
I mean, just go on Instagram, type the networking wizard, not the networking wizard, and just shoot me a DM and we can have a chat. It's a one-on-one mentorship. You get access to me, and then we can figure it out whether it is for them or not.
And when you say figure out if it is for them, what is the current offer?
It is a program. It's a one-on-one program with a course. They get access to my network, and then they get 3 months of coaching with me as well. We might change the offer in the future, but for now, like that's sort of.
And that's for them to grow their social media, to blow up their profile in whatever space they're in.
No, I do that very rarely. The consulting aspect of it, that is very, very high ticket. But predominantly, the main one that I'm focusing on is teaching people how to start a PR agency or scaling a current one. Yeah, but the consulting side is fun. You know, I do it with a lot of people here in Dubai, but it's not something that I promote publicly. Yeah, because trust me, there is a process, a proven process that you can follow to just blow up and then go on to paid traffic. I don't think the way moving forward, I really truly believe the paid traffic will be very different in the future. You need to have like either pick a platform and dominate that and just acquire through that one platform. And then if you want to diversify, you'll have to do the same thing that you did on Instagram, which is build credibility, have a ton of videos, have a lot of proof, and then boom, you go on to paid, you know?
And you've got to do that different on each one. You can't take your great performing videos from Instagram and just chop it into a TikTok reel.
You can, but it's just a different platform, it's a different audience. People on TikTok, for example, they're consumers. I'm a TikTok consumer. If I got late, I'm sorry, but if I got late at night to sleep and I can't sleep, I go on TikTok. And I just watch the weirdest conspiracy theorist. I've never bought anything on TikTok. I just like watching. That's it. I just scroll. I'm guilty of that. But Instagram is a conversion tool, in my opinion, and YouTube. YouTube as well, big time.
YouTube Shorts different to YouTube Longs?
Yeah, it's very similar to Instagram Reels. With the difference is that people subscribe to you if you've got content on YouTube. Everyone talks about YouTube being the holy grail, and I agree. It's just the hardest one to crack, in my opinion, YouTube. The hardest one. You need production. You need to really think about the video idea, all that sort of stuff. 1 million views, for example, on YouTube, it's 10 times more powerful than 1 million views on IG Reels.
Yeah.
Yeah, because of the retention rate.
Well, listen, Giuliano, it's been a pleasure having you, buddy.
Mate, same. And congrats on the climb. I know that's a big thing. That's a big accomplishment. Not many people have ever done that. So
thank you.
Congrats.
One a year. That's my limit.
You're motivating me now. I'm gonna have to do a climb myself.
I'll bring you with me next time.
Oh, don't push it, mate.
Listen, thanks a lot, buddy. Thanks for being here. As always, these podcasts are a super educational thing for me as well. Thanks for sharing. And
Anytime.
Look forward to seeing more of you in Dubai.
Good. Thank you.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks for tuning in to No Bollocks with Matt Haycox. Today's conversation was packed with actionable insights, and I'm super grateful that you joined us. Now, our community now boasts 160,000 downloads a month of this podcast, and that is a testament to entrepreneurs just like you who refuse to settle for mediocrity. So don't miss out. Subscribe now and gain exclusive access to the conversations that can transform your business and transform your life. Also, while you're at it, if you could visit www.matt-haycox.com or click the link in the show notes below, and please sign up to the No Bollocks newsletter. That's like the sister newsletter that lives with this podcast. Every week I send 2 emails, and in just 10 minutes you're going to gain more knowledge than most people doing a 3-year MBA. So please subscribe, rate, share this episode with someone who needs a No Bollocks boost. And until next time, keep hustling and keep winning.